Welcome to Plantish Live. I'm Nina Curtis. My co-host Sesabek Randall and I go live Tuesdays 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sesabek will be back in a couple of weeks, and I'm here excited to be speaking with my guest today, Meggan McCaughan, the founder and co-owner of Relative Foods, makers of gluten-free, allergen-free, pantry items. Think all your baking goods, your flours and such. And we are going to be speaking today about all things, well, a lot of things, gluten-free, allergen-free, and just how the market has expanded. I used to work at a gluten-free, nut-free, vegan bakery. And while we had, all the things gluten-free, we weren't using flours like teff and amaranth and buckwheat and even quinoa, which today there is so much out there, but not all things are created equal. I started working with Relative Foods in 2023. I had made modaks, which are an Indian cuisine delicacy, sweet dumplings for the most part. And it was a year of millets. 2023 was declared year of the millets. So I wanted to do something different, and they came out delicious. And a good friend of mine from India was very excited about it, and she made the recipe, and the rest is history. So today, Meggan will be joining me, and we will be speaking about so many things. But I'd like to know where you're joining in from, and what's your beverage of the day for morning or lunch. And please drop any of your questions into the chat, because we know this community directly to Meggan. How often, this is the thing about Plantish Live, how often are we able to speak with the actual thought leaders and innovators that are bringing us great quality products? I know she's going to be joining in just a minute, but let me know where you're calling in from or tapping in from. Not really calling. Maybe some of us are. And we're going to get started. Well, we've started. What am I talking about? It is Taco Tuesday. What kind of tacos are you making? It is Take Care of Business Tuesday. And it is also Take Care of Self. Most important. Let's see here. I've invited Meggan in. Sometimes Instagram makes us practice patience, and we all have enough patience. What are we in a hurry for? So say hello. Let me know where you're joining in from. I see you. I see you. I see you. And I'm going to do this. Let's see. I'm going to go this way. I see her here. I'm going to invite her and see where we go. Everybody's kind of quiet. Hello from Michigan. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Andrea, welcome in. Hello, Meggan. Welcome.
Yeah. Hello, Chef. How are you?
I'm good, and yourself?
I'm doing so well. Thank you so much for inviting me.
It's my pleasure. I know you're a busy woman. You're a mother of three and a businesswoman. That's an inspiration to get me up in the morning. I have nothing to complain about if I
Oh,
think I do. Hello,
thank you
everyone
so
coming
much.
in. Welcome. Thank you. I was saying, I don't know if you heard, I used to work in a vegan, gluten-free, nut-free bakery. And while it was, such a nuanced kind of business, and people would sometimes come in and they'd go, "So what's gluten-free?" And we'd go, "Everything." And then they'd go, "Okay, what's nut free?" And we'd go, "Everything." And some people would tear up because they'd say, "I haven't had in so many years." I mean, we all love sweet treats, right? We don't live on them, but we do love them.
Yeah.
And you could just see the emotion of people realizing there's still something. It's inclusive, it's diverse. And I just love and really want to get into, I know your family has had a business, but you and your dad then decided to launch Relative Foods, which is what we call a consumer facing company, so direct to consumers. Your other business was more B2B. Is that correct?
Yep. It's a co-packing facility, so it's got kind of both B2B, and then we do some retail that, other people sell. So it's a wide variety of stuff.
So what was the inspiration? What conversation did you and your dad have that said, we're going to start another business? We already have enough on our plate. And then on
Yeah.
top of that, we're going to have an allergen-free, gluten-free, organic, some things kosher. I mean, you're just stacking it on.
Yeah, it really stemmed from that co-packing facility. So, and we started that for a customer that, wasn't allergen free, but it was allergen free, but that wasn't their point, right? So, it really stemmed from after we started adding products to that co-packing facility, we realized there was just this huge need in the market, and people had this need for allergen free products packaged in a facility that also was allergen free. Not just an allergen free line or a facility that was fully allergen free, so they could trust the product from the beginning to the end. So that really is what got us going on Relative Foods. Well, it's funny because I had one of the things we started. So we started Total Food in 2011 after I had my second daughter. And we had a customer ask to package organic cane sugar, like as a part of their process. So it's sugar floss, so it's flavored sugar to make cotton candy. And so I had to get that organic certification. And that process was so interesting. I
Yeah.
learned so much about the sugar, the difference between organic sugar and regular sugar. And I fell in love with that organic cane sugar. And so I started using it solely at home. And then, my dad and I started talking about, well, we can really do this. We could start our brand with these products that we already love and trust and know. And so we started Relative Foods in the fall of 2019, right before the pandemic, and we started with organic cane sugar, because it was my favorite, and citric acid. And then the pandemic hit and everybody was baking and cleaning. And so those took off.
I love that. I mean, everyone needs to eat, right? So that's not going to go away. And then we're sequestered kind of at home. And like
Yep.
you said, so many bakers came out of it, or they were already baking, but now they're going online and they're sharing. So in 2023, I cooked at the White House, and it was declared Year of the Millets. And when I got back home, that was in June, but there was a Indian festival coming up every year where they make a traditional sweet dumpling called modak. And I wanted to switch it up, and I wanted to use millets, of course, make it make sense. And I started doing my research, and that's when I learned about your company. And I ordered millet flour, and it came out beautifully. I didn't have to do a lot of, sometimes we have to balance the ratio because it's not always 1 to 1 when we get
Yeah.
into some of these things. But because I have this background, it was so easy to make. It was so tender. It was so delicious. And my colleague who's from India, she then did the recipe and she's like, we've got something here. So that was my first introduction to your company. And then you also have like baking powder, aluminum free. I'm going through my pantry trying to pull out everything that I've collected. But I'm
Yeah.
also so excited because when I worked in the bakery, while we were gluten free, we didn't have, like you've just launched, amaranth and teff and buckwheat and quinoa. I can't
Yeah.
wait to work with those because while I've worked with many of them through the years, what I have learned, and I've spent a lot of money on products, and we know this, fam, right? Not all products are created equally. And so the cornerstone of your company is really about nutritious product, clean product, as you spoke about, and allergen free and gluten free. I know you said why, but why is that demand so strong that you can sustain as a business with it?
Yeah, that's a great question, but I think that just the awareness that everyone has now about what's being added to products and, what they're looking for in a product. They want something that they can trust from a company, and I think that's kind of what sets us apart is I have such a great team, but we are involved from the beginning. Usually it's a request from a customer for teff flour or buckwheat flour. We're like, we don't have that, but let's go look at it. So we'll find it, we'll get samples, we'll get all the documentation that we're used to getting already for the co-packing facility. We'll do our own testing, and then finally we bring it to market, and then I get the full pallet here that we package here.
Okay.
So I think that that's kind of what makes it us a little different is we get to see the whole process from the beginning samples to it actually being on the shelf. So
I love that. I read somewhere that that was something you really love doing. A client says, "Can you get this?" You rarely say no. Then you
yeah,
start. What does that process look like? Like you're like, I don't know. What's teff flour? I
yeah.
mean, how does that look? And to what degree do you get the, I'm going to say raw material and then actually create it into flour? Because you have like millet. I can order millet from you too, and then I can order millet flour.
Yeah. Yeah. So we don't do any of the milling here. We
Okay.
rely on our suppliers, but so it'll come to us as the product is, and then we'll package it as we see fit in different sizes. We have different sizes of the different flours, but that is one thing that I think I was the most surprised about how many different gluten-free flours there are. I had no idea. And then someone would request something, and I'm like, I know nothing about that. Let me, let us look into it. So that part, it's just fun, like to learn about the different products and what people are making with them, breads and cookies and all kinds of things. It's amazing to me. It's that part is fun.
Cakes, pies,
Yeah,
um,
everything.
gravy. People think about, flours as for sweets and all, but we
Yeah,
use so many of these ingredients in our savory cooking too. I mean, at least I do. And just
yeah.
for our family that's joined us, we will. I know sometimes people come in and go, "Oh, I can't stay. I really want to watch this." We always post the replay, so that will happen. No different. I see the hearts coming in. I'm watching Megan also for any comments. People are saying hello. I see the fire emoji. So thank you for everyone being here. I think there's a couple of things I'm always interested when I look at a product, even as a consumer. That's what I am first. And then, in this field as a professional, oftentimes when you turn the package over and look at the labeling, even for just vegan, let's say, or sometimes even nut free, it will say made in a facility that has XYZ ingredients. And it's so common today. I mean, I think that's one thing that really sets Relative Foods apart. Fam, I've dropped the Relative Foods family.com link for the website if you want to check it out. And you make products not just for consumers, but also food service. I know that because I've ordered from you. So I think people should realize that because, the marketing is on the front of the label. The branding's on the front. And if you're going for oat flour, you just see gluten free and you're like, I'm good. But sometimes you really need to turn it over. Why is the market like that, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's really hard to find a co-packer. We all have our own little niche, but our co-packer in that niche, because we're a small co-packing facility, so we're able to keep it that way and keep it allergen free and not have the different lines. But a lot of the big packaging companies, it would be difficult for them to just be allergen free. I think the market is growing. I think there will become more of them. But that piece has always been a difficult piece, and that's why it was such a good niche for us, like right away. Right
Yeah.
away, I could.
And to your point, these companies have big operations, so they do have an isolated area that is producing the vegan or gluten-free, but things travel in the air. So we have to be mindful of that if we get into the science, which we're not going to do today, but I'm a geek about the science part of it, especially when you're fermenting and all these things and things blow up on you. You got to understand what's happening in your own kitchen. So you've recently launched amaranth, teff, buckwheat and quinoa flours. You have that much demand where people come in, or how do you decide, okay, we can
Yeah,
handle these four, and what's your market research to support the demand? Because right now, the gluten-free market in 2025 is 9.4 billion, fam. It's not small. And
yeah.
the allergen market of foods is 50 point something billion. And, in a couple of years, continuing to expand. So it's huge.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. Like we definitely have people that support us in helping us do that research to figure out, if we should go through with it and make it happen. But I mean, really, chef, when we start launching these, they go right away. They sell right away. People are looking for these products. And it has been so just fun to watch that, to see that, and then to get that feedback from customers, like finding out what they're making. I mean, I just saw a customer made buckwheat chocolate chip cherry with the dried cherries, and the buckwheat flour cookies, and I was like, oh, that sounds amazing. I want to try that. I mean, it's just so fun to see. But yeah, I mean, we definitely have the right people supporting us, helping us make sure the market is there. But honestly, if we find a good product and it tests well and we get all the documentation and we feel good about it, it's they've all been successful, so it's great.
I love that. I mean, there's so many people that, I mean, I think to your point, there's a lot of times, especially for those that do catering, we have to think about being more inclusive and diverse in our offering, because more people are just, I think it's changed in the past years. When I grew up, my dad's a chef. Things have really changed with how many allergens people are experiencing. And I think that comes from a lot of things, not necessarily maybe just the ingredient, but the processing, the growing, what they do to things to make flour, create a more elastic, I'm going to say, bread, and all these things that we see. I mean, I'm on this side, you're on your side. And so we see these things differently, maybe than a consumer. And sometimes I think even different than some of my chef colleagues think about, but they're coming around to it. So what was the first product, or maybe you had two or three that you launched? What was the first product that you launched, the first ingredient?
Yeah, so it was that organic cane sugar that I loved, and
Oh,
pretty
oh,
following that, we couldn't really find a brown sugar or an
okay.
organic brown sugar that we loved. So we're like, well, we could mix it here. So we found an organic molasses, and now we blend that here. So those are two of my favorite, because to be honest, I don't do a lot of cooking. My husband does the cooking in our house, but I like to do the baking. So I have the organic cane sugar and the organic brown sugar. Those are two of my favorites. But so that was the first one. And the first flours, the gluten-free flours, I think was the oat flour, the organic oat flour, and the millet flour, the organic millet flour.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
And
we
then
started with, and those took off, and then the rest of the flours just kept coming.
do you see continued growth? What would be the most unique flower you've had a request for, not in your offering right now, that you had to kind of scratch your head and go, I got to think about this one?
Yeah, yeah. Well, actually, I have a customer that we package banana flour for, and I thought really interesting, but I haven't found an organic one yet. So it's just interesting to research some of those things. But there are so many. I mean, there's more we could add. We're still looking at some. So
I love
do
it.
you have
And what
anything?
would you say is your most popular or in demand, most sold, ordered product right now?
Well, you might think this is funny, but it's baking soda. It's the baking soda. So there's so many uses for baking soda, but we started selling in the 5 pound bag, which is a big bag of baking soda,
That's a
and it
big
took off.
bag.
Yeah, it's a big bag. It took off. So you can use it for school science projects and for gardening and for cleaning, all the things. So that took off. We just added a 10-pound pail of baking soda. Um,
Wow.
that's a big one. The organic cane sugar is still a really big seller, especially around the holidays. And then the oat flour is big, and the whole millet. Yeah, that's another
Yes.
good one.
Yeah.
That's been selling well. Well, and it's interesting. Lately, we're having. I think we've got a lot of business customers that are asking for 25-pound bags. So
Wow.
we're like, sure. So we started packaging 25-pound bags of whole millet and the millet flour, and so we started selling those. So it's nice to be flexible and be able to say, yeah, sure, we can do that.
Yeah, it's a big difference from my home kitchen to the commercial kitchen when we're baking for, sometimes thousands of people, with what you can go through and standardizing your recipes. And it's a whole operation that we do. When I come home, I have to kind of take that hat off and go, you don't need to make that much. If I open my freezer, I've got oatmeal cookie batter in there and things that I just want to have on hand so I don't have to replicate it everything. I want to tap in a little bit because I don't know if everybody really understands the importance of the baking soda that you offer. Can you talk a little bit to what's normal on the shelf and how your product, the baking soda, and in general, how your products really set relative foods apart in the market?
Yeah. So directly with the baking soda, a lot of the baking soda you find can add stuff in the process that we don't want in a baking soda. The baking soda we found is it's mined in the U.S. and
Nice.
nothing is added to it. So it's a really good product for baking. And then we use that baking soda to make our baking powder. So it is a superior product to most baking soda out there. And so that is, it's a point of pride for us to make sure that we have the ingredients that you can trust, in packaged in a facility that you can trust. So you get the whole process. But that's kind of what sets us apart, is just having that control over the whole process.
Yeah. And to your point, you said not just your size. I mean, you could be mighty and small. Obviously, you're proving that, but you really do have control and you can watch everything. How is it working with your dad? I know you're going to say it's great because he might be watching, but I mean, there's some nuances. Like people say, "Oh, how could you work with someone you're married?" But how is it working with your dad? And what's been one of the pillars, or maybe three pillars, that he instilled in you when you were younger that you see have come forward in your business acumen?
Yeah, definitely. It is great working with my dad. We really complement each other. I always joke that he's the one jumping in with 2 feet and he's dragging me behind him, saying, "Wait, what are we doing?" But so I mean, that's how we started Total Food. I was working for a big company in purchasing, and I had my first daughter, and I was blessed and had my mom watch her. But she knew my mom a little better than she knew me, and that was heartbreaking. And so. When I had my second daughter and we were able to start Total Food Package, he's always supported me as a mom, and he wants me to have that work-life balance. And so, I mean, I used to be able to go home at lunch and nurse and then go
Mhm.
back. It was an amazing thing to have, but he has always supported that piece, that family piece. He knows how fast it goes, and it goes so fast. So I think that is the biggest thing. I mean, and we implement that here at Total Food at the co-packing facility. I want everyone to have a work-life balance. We are flexible. We have flexible schedules. That is just an important piece that a lot of people don't get in a work environment. So I think that's the biggest thing. And then the other piece is to take the risk. Dad is, I mean, he's the one that said, yeah, we should do this, take that risk. And that's something that, I want to be able to show my children. I took this risk. We did this together. It's important to do that in life. And obviously, from a business sense, he's super supportive for all of that and teaching me all that stuff. But he's really supported me as a mom and a business owner, and so that's been amazing.
I love that. I always ask the question to women entrepreneurs, founders, innovators, what do you think needs to change in this industry? I'm in the food industry on this side and you're on, the side you're on, but there are still commonalities that take place when it's a male driven um, industry for the most part, even if many of the bakers are females, many of the cooks are females, many of the inspiration of male chefs and etc. have come from females. What are some things you feel really need to change? Because you've already talked about the work-life balance that your business, Relative Foods, is creating. But what do you see in the market when you go to a meeting and they're maybe expecting your dad to come in, but you walk in and you're running the project?
Yeah, I mean, especially when I first started, I looked young. So I had a lot of that. But I think the thing it needs to change. The idea that women can't do it all, it's not right. We do it all.
Whether we
That we
want
can't.
to or not.
Yeah, right. That we, have kids and then we can't maintain a business and run things. That mentality definitely needs to change. Thankfully, my family has never had that mentality. I was supported right from my husband and my dad. So I think that's the biggest piece is we don't have to be in the office 40 hours a week. We can do stuff from home. We can, there's so much more out there that we have all the opportunity in the world. And I think that's the biggest piece that needs to change.
I love that. So I've heard you have two daughters. Do you have a third daughter or a son?
A son. Yep. So two
Okay.
girls and a boy. And actually my oldest just graduated high school and she's
Oh,
going to college.
congratulations.
Yep, in a couple weeks. So
Does she
yeah,
want to join the business?
she does not, but she is going actually to Northern for like German studies. She is super smart and into language, which is just amazing to me.
Yes. I love that. What are some of the things that you think or you hear your children speaking about that they're getting what you'd like them to get from seeing you as not just their mom, but a business owner? And then you
Yeah.
have the family, they see their grandpa. What are things you see that are already being instilled in them that you feel good about?
Yeah, yeah. Well, so my oldest was 4, and then my second was 4 months, and then my son, doesn't know any better. It was this whole life, but that's when I started Total Food. So I have owned this business and worked hard, and they got to watch it all, right? They grew up with me working hard, doing both, raising the kids, being home when I need to, running the business, having the support from family, and the wonderful people that, work here. Um, so I think, and then now they've kind of been a part of it. They come in some days in the summer and they put boxes together and kit some stuff for me. So they get to see it. They, see how hard we work here.
Yeah. And they might say I'm going to go this way, but they'll always come home. And I love that because my dad was a chef. And at 8 years old, I was in the kitchen swearing I'd never be a chef. So never say never. We know that. But, we do get seeds planted in us. And I think that's beautiful. My mom to me was the best cook in the world, but I got that duality of the homemaking and the hostess with the mostess. And then, the production didn't matter to me at 8 years old. I just wanted to play with the kids. But now
Yeah.
I see how it was planted and really has nourished in me to be successful in this work. What would you say? People that are like, they see the product on the shelf, they go to your website and they're like, well, I don't know what teff is. I don't know what amaranth is. They've never had it even as a grain or a seed, as some of these are subseeds, subgrains. What would you say to them to say, try it? Or what would be some of the things that you would say to them? Oh, you should try instead of using your regular wheat flour or even gluten-free AP flour that you have of our product. What would you say to get them to like push that envelope and try something?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely was one of those people, right? I didn't do any baking with gluten-free flours, and it's amazing, what you can produce with it. So I do a lot of looking at, my wonderful customers who are trying this and they post their recipe and I'm like, I want to try that. I
Yeah.
mean, there's just so much out there and there are some wonderful organic gluten-free flours that you can use to make, like I said, pretty much anything you want to make. So I just, check it out, follow us. You can see all the different recipes we have, and just give it a shot because it can be difficult, but it's really fun to try those new recipes.
I think it's like we all know that it's like science, right? Because I've stalked your page. I've gone through and looked at what people are doing, like you said, the cherries and the buckwheat and I've made so many cakes and cookies and pies and crust. Your AP flour, your gluten-free AP flour is a 1-to-1. So if someone has a recipe, they can easily take that. And if it calls for 2 cups of flour, you're good to go. Some of the other flours, there takes a little bit of blending and experiencing. Like I know when I started baking with coconut flour and cassava flour years ago, nobody really said anything and they just grabbed more moisture. So my product that I knew using either regular, AP flour or gluten-free, I was like, why is it so dry? So there
Yeah.
are some nuances that we
Oh yeah.
need to work with, but they haven't been anything that's made me go, oh, I'll never use that again. sometimes we do have to go, oh, maybe I'll grind that one up and try to do something
Yeah.
else with it. I'm always trying to repurpose. But I do think the flavors of the amaranth, the flavors, it's going to be a little bit more nutty with like the millet I found, but it was so nice when I used the jaggery and then I also had the coconut in it. It just lended another layer of flavor that I think it's not just flour is functional for a certain reason. Now, when we get into these more novel flours, I'm going to say right now, they're going to be common day and many people use them all the time and have for centuries. But I think you add that layer of texture, add that layer of flavor, the chew, the bite even, and it just is one, if you love baking, I always inspire or encourage people to step out and try it. And you can do half AP flour, your gluten-free AP flour, to half your teff or your amaranth or your quinoa or even your buckwheat. I love buckwheat pancakes. That's not new to anyone, but when you get a really good product, it makes a whole difference. So let's go into a quick fire a little bit. We always like to have our guests kind of, ask them these random questions that you just need to think quick. It's not a test. What was the first thing you ever baked?
Oh, cookies, for
Okay.
sure.
What kind? What cookies? Which cookies? I'm going to grind
Choc-
down.
Yeah, for sure. Those chocolate chip cookies, they're
Okay.
still my.
They're still your favorite.
Yeah.
My mom used to always bake at the holiday times, and that was a thing, like a ritual in our family with the grandkids, with her grandkids, and as they came at different times, like you said, they would look forward to that. Does your mom bake?
Yeah, my mom bakes. I think it's funny because my mother-in-law bakes even more. And
Okay.
so she does so much baking with my kids. She has famous ginger cookies.
Uh,
My kids, in fact, my oldest had to have them at her graduation party. Um, so, I mean, that's been a lot of fun, just watching my kids grow up baking with my mother-in-law. That's been really cool. But yeah, I didn't, like I said, I don't cook a lot, but my mom did help me. Whatever I know from my mom, and she's amazing. But
that's usually how it goes. I know you say you don't bake a lot, but what is one baking ingredient that you can't live without?
yeah, the organic cane sugar.
Okay, that cane sugar is going to keep popping up. It's got a
I know.
sweet space in your heart.
It does. It really does. And I really love the organic brown sugar. I love when we mix it here. It's those are my two favorite. But I like the oat flour. When I make cookies now, I use the oat flour.
Okay, okay. I love oat flour and I'm excited to work with yours. I'm going to order that soon and then I'll make some things with it. Which entrepreneur, past or present, would you love to have dinner with that besides your dad, that
Mm.
you look up to and you think, oh, if I could have dinner with anybody in the business world, who would that be?
Wow, that is a great question, Chef. Um, I mean, there's so many women who have started businesses that um, that's who I would really like to be like. So how did you get into it? Because it's not something. It's funny now, from a co-packing standpoint. I have so many women-owned products and brands that we package for. So many, and I think part of it's because they end up talking to me, and we just build this relationship, and and then they trust me to co-pack, of course. So gosh, I don't know, Nina. That's a tough one. I guess
It's a tough one. No,
you.
no one's going to come for you.
Yeah, no, probably you, Chef. We need to sit
Oh,
down and have. I would love just learning everything that you have
thank
done in
you.
your places you've been and different careers you've had. That's amazing.
Thank you for
That's
that. I wasn't expecting that, but you're like looking at her. That one over there in the screen. That's a safe one. But think about it, because usually we call people out and say in a good way, and tag them when I do the
oh
repost, like
yeah.
this person wants to meet you. Let's make this happen. So think about that, and if before I
Right.
do the repost, I'll call them out. I already know me, and that could be a real reality. I'd love to come to your facility.
Oh, I
I would
love
love to
that.
see how things work, and do something right there on the spot with Plantish. We've done that before. I think there's so much. What are some of the things you're excited about with regards to the future of, you said we started Relative Foods in right before COVID hit, and you saw how you sustained. What are some of the things that you're really excited about the next few years? I mean, most of us are trying to get through the year. So maybe the next couple of years, what do you see on the horizon that your company is seeing as a trend?
Yeah. Well, so this year we really dug into those gluten-free flours, even some of those flours that we hadn't heard of before. And so we're always doing research on new products. So we have dried cherries from northern Michigan. And so I would love to expand. We use that as snacks for schools and travel and stuff. I would love to expand to some more of those type products, past the flours and the baking and stuff. So that's kind of where I foresee us going, you know, foods like that we can package. So we only do dry foods, but that are packaged in the allergen-free facility because there are so many people that have kids with allergens and I'm always talking to people like, is there corn in your facility? Like other things besides the top nine. And I have those conversations regular via email or phone. If you have a question on one of our products, you'll probably end up talking to me or John. So, but expanding to those other things that we can provide for people because it is so hard to find products that are that you can trust like that.
Yeah, it's huge. I work with the Unified School District here in Sacramento. We have a project, a cohort called One Kitchen, and California and other states, but California always kind of leads some things. Put this bill out for to have a plant-based meal offering for all school children. And then we're looking at working with just the infrastructure so these schools, the cafeterias can, one, encourage the kids to come in, the young people to come in, because we're talking K through 12, and also give the operators, the food operators, the equipment and the space, the layout to work into me putting out thousands of meals a day. So I'm very interested to introduce your product to some of the people that I'm working with, specifically in the school district, specifically because one, you can't have any nuts, the allergen issue, and all these, tight things that are very stringent, as you know, in the school district, but are needed too. I think
Yeah.
are needed, but that's a huge market in and of itself. Just the schools across the country could probably, have more demand for one than one could almost, which I guess that's a great problem to have. But
Yeah.
that and just feeding I always think about our future, feeding our kids better nutrient dense products, which I think, again, one thing that a lot of people look at when they're baking and such as flour. Yes, it's flour, but it's functional to give that, softness, that tenderness to make obviously bread and pizza dough and flour or pizza crust and all that. But really the nutrient density is also what we need to focus on. And I think Relative Foods does that so well because any of these flours we would be eating like quinoa, right? Now you have it in a flour form. And yeah, you can blend your quinoa, but that doesn't mean it's going to be a proper meal and all of that. And kudos to those that do that. I don't have time to mill my own flours. So I'm looking for quality. So I really, really appreciate you taking the time because I know you're a busy woman. Oftentimes when we do interviews or when I'm interviewed, afterwards I go, oh, I wish I had said this, or I wish they had asked me that. So I want to ask you, what's something I haven't asked you that you would like to leave with our audience and those that are going to watch the replay as a bit of food for thought? Not
Yeah.
necessarily even related to Relative Foods, but what's on your mind daily when you sit right there at your desk
Yeah.
and think about our world and the direction we need to be considering going in.
Yeah, I talked a little bit about this, but just I would love for business owners to really focus on that work-life balance, to really allow employees to have a schedule that meets their needs. Like maybe it's not a 9 to 5. It might be a little different time so that they can meet the needs of their family and the company. And just, I just think that I have I've been so blessed with both my mom and my dad supporting me. And my mom watched my kids, all three of them, for me. And I just wish more people had that. I think that is, as a mom of three, I wouldn't have been able to do it without my family, and to have that support and to have that work-life balance. And so I really try to provide that for a company, for my employees. And I really wish that more companies were able to do that and not be so stringent on times and stuff like that. So
It really can enhance the bottom line. I know we could go on and on about that conversation, but if you have people that are feeling good and want to come to work and love what they do, you're going to get so much more out of people. I know I've poured into companies when I've been an intrapreneur, I've been an entrepreneur, and you don't lose that, but you do want to work in an environment where you're recognized and your value is acknowledged for us all being there together. I just love this conversation. We always ask our guests, my co-host Cecibek Randall is traveling right now, but we always ask our guests when we're live, so we have a commitment. Will you join us again? Because I feel like there's more that you're coming up with, maybe some things that you can't talk about right now, but we would love to have you back to just talk about more of what you're finding. Yes?
yeah, absolutely. I would love to come back more.
We've
That would
got
be
her,
great.
fam. Maybe we'll do like a cook along, or I'll take a product of yours and
Yeah.
make something live, and you can direct me
Yeah.
with what we're doing, and then
I'll
we
let,
need to. That's fine. I just want us to get, one smell-o-vision on here. So when I am cooking or baking, people can actually smell it so I can get you to drool. That's my real litmus test. If I
I
get
love,
your mouth watering, then I know I'm doing something good.
yeah.
And then
Yeah.
the ability to push food through, because imagine right now we're having this discussion and I had baked some millet muffins or something, or some oat millet muffins, and we could serve them. I don't know how people are going to grab it, but that's where my mind has been for years. I think when I was a kid, I was like, why can't I just grab that out of the TV? So
Right.
I trust
Oh,
that's going to come. Fam, I thank you for being a part. I see someone was having a cardamom coffee that sounds good. People have been sending hearts and fire emojis. We are so thankful to the community, because we're nothing without the community. You could be here, you could be anywhere, and you decided to be with us. Those of you who will watch the replay, I want to thank you. We've been speaking with Meggan McCaughan, and she is the founder and co-owner of Relative Foods. I've got the link. You can follow her and her business here on Instagram. That's Relative Foods. You can find the website at relativefoodsfamily.com. And we are going to close now because we all have things to do. It's Taco Tuesday. You can make some millet tortillas. You can make some teff tortillas. I'm going to do it because I'm the taco queen, and I love making my own tortillas. You don't have to just make them with corn, which is delicious, but there are so many opportunities out there. Meggan, thank you again. We can't wait to have you back. Everyone, I always say, walk out into your brilliance, do something great for yourself today, give someone else a compliment that they're not expecting. We will be back next Tuesday, same time, same place, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will have another guest as beautiful, as intelligent as Meggan, doing good for the world. And just thank you, everyone who's joined us. Meggan, I can't wait to see you again and talk
yeah.
to you and get to your facility. And
Yeah.
thank your dad for doing all that he's done to back you, because I know that's such an important component I am girl power. Every time I find a female in business, especially in this space, I want to bring her in because there just needs to be more of us. And that's nothing against all the men I love that are doing great things in this space and in the world. But we thank you, everyone. We'll see you again. Thank you, Megan. Thank you,
Thank
Relative Foods,
you so
for
much.
giving us time with you. And we'll go from there. Have a great
Yeah.
day, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.